Deep inside the Amazon rainforest, there is a place that does not exist on any public map. No coordinates, no signage, no road leading to it. And yet, inside its walls lives the last hope for every plant on Earth. Right now, in June 2026, the Amazon is burning faster than at any point in recorded history. Atmospheric scientists are calling this the summer of no return. But someone built a fortress before it was too late. And what they hid inside it will completely change how you understand survival on this planet. If you flew a drone at full speed through the Amazonian canopy right now, weaving through 200-foot-tall trees, cutting through walls of green so thick they block the sun, you would eventually see something that should not be there. A massive, mirror-polished steel structure, completely hidden, completely silent. No windows, no doors visible from the outside, just a perfect, cold reflection of the jungle staring back at you. Scientists have a term for what is happening right now across the tropics: botanical cascade failure. It means that plant species are not just dying, they are triggering each other's extinction. When one keystone plant species disappears, the insects that depend on it vanish. When those insects disappear, the birds that eat them starve. When the birds disappear, the seeds they carry are never planted. This is not a theory. It is happening right now in real time in the Amazon basin. The Emerald Fortress was built because someone understood that by the time the world woke up, there might be nothing left to save. Over 4.7 million individual plant specimens, seeds, spores, root cuttings, and genetic samples from over 80,000 species, many of which no longer exist anywhere else on Earth. You need the complete genetic instruction manual. You need to understand how each plant communicates with the soil. That is why the vault is surrounded by a biometric security system so advanced that even the scientists who built it cannot enter without a live biological scan taken within the last 24 hours. Your retina changes slightly over time. Your fingerprints carry trace heat signatures. The system knows if you are you, and it knows if something is wrong. Right now, a team of specialized arborists is racing against a deadline that cannot be moved. Their target is a plant that most people have never heard of. Scientists call it the Immortal Fern. It is over 360 million years old as a species. It survived the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs, and it is going extinct this week. The last known population of 23 individual plants is in a single micro-ecosystem in the western Amazon. That ecosystem is currently experiencing temperatures it has never encountered in its evolutionary history. The arborists have a 72-hour window before the heat crosses the biological threshold, the point at which the fern's cellular reproduction mechanism permanently shuts down. 72 hours. And they have to move through terrain that floods without warning in heat that makes even experienced jungle trackers collapse. When the arborists finally reach the specimens, they do not simply pick them up and leave. Here is the terrifying truth about the Emerald Fortress. The greatest threat to what is inside is what you bring in. A single unknown pathogen could travel through the ventilation network and destroy specimens that took millions of years to evolve. So before anything enters the vault, it enters a pressurized airlock where it is bathed in ultraviolet light, subjected to a chemical vapor that neutralizes every known biological agent, and held in quarantine for a minimum of 6 hours. What greets you on the other side of that door is one of the most visually striking things any human being has ever seen. Imagine walking from the chaos of the jungle floor, the noise, the heat, the humidity, directly into a space of absolute silence and cold blue light. Rows upon rows of stainless steel cylinders, each one sealed, each one labeled with a species code that represents millions of years of evolutionary history. Nitrogen vapor drifts across the floor like something from a science fiction film. The temperature in this room is -196 degrees Celsius. That's the temperature of liquid nitrogen. At this temperature, biological time stops. A seed stored today could be viable in 1,000 years. But getting from a living plant to a stable frozen sample is not as simple as dropping it into cold storage. This is where one of the most important scientific breakthroughs of this century comes into play. It's called vitrification. The word comes from the Latin for glass, and that's exactly what it does. It turns plant cells into glass. When living tissue is frozen using conventional methods, ice crystals form inside the cells. Those crystals expand, shred the cell walls, and destroy the genetic material you're trying to preserve. Vitrification bypasses this entirely. By introducing a precise combination of cryoprotectant chemicals before freezing and then plunging the tissue into liquid nitrogen at a speed of over 100 degrees per second, the water inside the cells does not form crystals. It becomes an amorphous solid. The DNA remains intact. The cellular instructions remain readable. The blueprint for an entire species, frozen at the moment of its last living breath, is now preserved for as long as the nitrogen holds. In June 2026, the Amazon has recorded temperatures 8 degrees above the historical average for 6 consecutive weeks. Rivers that have flowed for 10,000 years are running dry. Everything outside is accelerating towards collapse. Everything inside is frozen in perfect, permanent safety. But frozen specimens alone are not enough, because a vault without a brain is just a graveyard. Inside a separate wing of the facility, sealed behind a secondary biometric lock, is a server room that glows blue in the dark. This is where the sentient seed AI lives. It monitors the nitrogen levels in every single cylinder, over 4.7 million of them, in real time. It tracks the thermal stability of every storage zone, every air pressure differential, every microscopic variation in humidity. And it never sleeps. The system runs on 4 independent power sources, including a geothermal tap deep in the bedrock beneath the facility. If the sentient seed detects a breach, a pathogen reading that falls outside expected parameters, a temperature spike in a critical storage zone, an unauthorized access attempt, the response is immediate and absolute. Every internal airlock seals within 0.4 seconds. The compromised zone is flooded with nitrogen gas, dropping the temperature so fast that no biological agent can survive. External communication is severed. The facility goes dark to the outside world, and a deep archive failsafe is triggered. A secondary copy of every genetic sequence is automatically transmitted, encrypted, to 7 redundant facilities on 4 separate continents. The Emerald Fortress is not just a vault, it is the central hub of a global backup system for life on Earth. The scientists and guardians of the Emerald Fortress have made a choice that most people will never fully understand. They live inside the facility, for months at a time, some of them for years. These are people who have left behind families, careers, and the ordinary rhythms of life because they believe that what they are doing here is the only thing that matters. In the words of one of the facility's lead geneticists, we are not just saving plants, we are saving the future's ability to choose. And the future they are choosing begins in the year 2050, the Rewilding Roadmap. A phased plan already under development inside the facility for how the specimens stored here will eventually be used to restore damaged ecosystems across the tropics. Not just planted, re-engineered, using genetic data stored in the sentient seed AI to match each species to the exact soil chemistry, altitude, and climate zone where it will thrive. The visualizations that the facilities team has created for 2050 show something that is almost impossible to believe when you look at the Amazon today. Green, thick, unbroken green, rivers running full, animal populations returning, ecosystems rebuilt, not from scratch, but from the frozen instructions stored inside this building right now in 2026. But here is the truth that the facility's scientists want every person watching this to understand. The Emerald Fortress is not a solution. It is an emergency measure. It exists because we have already failed. Every species locked inside those stainless steel cylinders is a monument to the moment when the world outside chose not to protect it. Every frozen seed is a mirror reflecting back the choices that made its preservation necessary. The facility gives us a second chance, but a second chance is not guaranteed. Right now, outside these walls, there are ecosystems that have not yet crossed the threshold. There are species that are endangered but not yet extinct. There are forests that are threatened but not yet gone. So I want to leave you with this question, and I genuinely want to know your answer. If you could choose one plant species that the Emerald Fortress must protect above all others, what would it be and why? Tell us in the comments below.